Hi, my name is Luis Mayer Rotroza Garcia, and today I am presenting to you the brand book of the Dos a Tres Caídas. First of all, we're going to cover three things in today's session. First, our opener about me, our mid card about my professional self, and our main event, which will be our brand book itself. So, let's start with our opener. What about me? As of today, I cannot tell you why I'm the way I am. What I can tell you is that my mission is to remind people that they always can fight. There's always something else you can do. There's never an no. So my vision is to be the light in someone's dark, to illuminate the way to someone to achieve their goals. As I like to say, the only way a star can shine as bright as they can be is if they are surrounded by the darkest of the nights. So, for my personal presentation, I have chosen these three colors. The blue that represents my calmness, the yellow that represents my happiness, and the red that represents my passion, my will to never give up. My logo is my signature. I'm not quite in love with it, but I have been stuck with it since I'm 18, and I just learned to love it. It's one of those things where you just did it in the moment and you have to live with the consequence, and that's what it is. And my font is something I just found while searching for fonts, and I thought if this were the universe of everything everywhere all at once were fonts, I would like to be this one. And we have now arrived to our mid card, my professional self. And here I have four words that I think describe me the most. Those words are as a professional, because I always come up with the weirdest solutions with a lot of options. And who knows, maybe that dumb thing you said 3 days ago is the key to solve the problem we will have next week. Who knows? Versatile, because I understand that things don't always work the way you intend to in the first place. So we have to adapt, we have to evolve, we have to change things. And I love that. I can do that. Responsible, well, it speaks for itself. And workhorse. Why? Because I believe I am a person that can do the job. I always see myself maybe not as the brightest or the strongest or the most agile, but the one that always does the job, the one that always gets the work done. For my professional presentation, I have chosen two different colors because the red one is the same as in my personal life, because I am as passionate as a professional than in my personal life. The blue one represents my professionality. I understand that when it's time to work, it is time to work. And the green is to never forget that you cannot just go all the way into work. You have to remember nature. You have to remember that outside that building there's my logo and font. These are both written in Hortensia because I believe it's a very happy middle ground between a very orthodox font and just something way over the top and too fluffy. And I believe my major, communications, just gives you that opportunity to don't be that orthodox, but just not have something very over the top. And now we are here. We are in the main event, the brand book of the Dos a Tres Caídas. First of all, we want to build a nightclub themed after wrestling, similar to what Hard Rock Cafe represents to rock. We are looking forward to getting dozens of memorabilia to decorate everything around the building, from masks, posters, photos, gear, and titles. Everything will be thematic. The waiters will be dressed as referees. The lighting design will match arenas all over the world. The tables and chairs will be thematic to wrestling themes. And the hallways will match entrance hallways from arenas. The shows and the atmosphere will be unique. Now, let's briefly talk about why. Well, wrestling as a whole is a very popular sport in Mexico and it has a lot of lore to explore. It has a lot of variants, it has a lot of different styles, and we believe that we can mix them together. After in order to create something new. We can discuss our mission, vision, and values. Our mission is to create a fun, safe, but unique space themed after wrestling. How? Well, with our vision, being the flagship of nightclubs in the region while bringing acknowledgement to Lucha Libre and all of its forms. We want people all over the world to come here and not only see themselves represented in, hey, that's Japanese wrestling, hey, that's American wrestling, but also giving them the opportunity to get to know other variants of wrestling. All of this while being very respectful to the tradition that this sport brings to a lot of people. That's why in our values we have respect tradition as one of our main ones, as well as obviously fun, diversity, and audacity. With this being said, I ask you, how are we looking today? Here you can see two examples of how we want our brand to look. And yes, they are nothing like what wrestling resembles when we talk about it. But that's kind of the point. We want to get away from that concept people have because, well, that's the concept people are so cliched about wrestling. We want people to get a new concept of it. We want people to learn new things, to be able to get that idea out of their head and just to let go of that old idea and get to know this new concept we're trying to implement. Our social media guidelines are based in three pillars: friendly, fun, relevant. Yeah, sure, we can be fun. We want to be friendly with you, and our community manager can crack jokes. Our waiters can be having laughs between turns. We don't have a problem with any of that, but we want to keep our social media relevant. We don't have to have 800 posts with 75% of them being just reposts of old promos or photos of some of the plays just re-uploaded. No, if we're posting something, it's something new. How are we going to do that? Well, welcome to our social media planning. It's divided in 4 stations. First, our pre-match, where we have our pre-launch brand positioning campaign. Here, we're just going to hype the concept up. We're going to bring some publicity in order to bring attention to our new concept and be ready for when we ring the bell. That's our launch day. First, we're going to have on-site promotion all over town to just have people hyped to come. Then our online expansion campaign. Sure, we are going to continue with our brand positioning, but well, once you have the place open, you can have a lot more of content than if you just record the empty space, right? Then we have our first fall. Then here we're going to have seasonal events and then weekly events. We will talk about them in a little bit. Just wait for a second. Then in our second fall, we're looking forward to collab with other brands. We are not close to anything. That's why we're separating ourselves from the traditional concept of wrestling in order to not close the doors to any kind of collab. We want to bring as much collaborations as possible as some of our seasonal events can match other companies. But what would we be posting exactly? Well, here's an example of what would be our first seasonal event, assuming we open it today. It will be called The First Match, and it will feature the weekly events of Halloween, where you can come cosplayed as your favorite wrestler or as a new wrestler. We will have special opening hours when special wrestling shows are happening, since, for example, Triple Mania 31 it starts at 7 p.m. Well, that day we'll be opening at 7 instead of 11, so we can stream the event on our screens, and that would apply to all the special events of wrestling. This would be accompanied with posts that will highlight pieces of our memorabilia, like, hey, you want to see this exclusive Rey Mysterio mask? Well, we have it. Or posts of the place in motion, as we discussed in our previous segment. Then I want to give a brief explanation of how we're going to operate. We will have a directive board overseeing everything, and then 3 very distinct districts: the creative district, the financial district, and the HR district. Each of them will have their responsibilities, and they're just there to keep everything afloat. The creatives, well, they will keep the show alive. The financials will tell us, no, you cannot buy that. And the HR will just make sure we're not setting everything on fire. That's how basically we're going to be operating. And how are we measuring things? This is the last one, I promise. First, our total attendance. We want to see how many people can come into our place in one night. Our second one will be our daily revenue. Well, yeah, it would be amazing to bring 5,000 people, but it won't matter if we're not earning money. Following that, yeah, it will be amazing to bring a lot of people, but what if those people never come back? What if those people don't want to hear from us ever again? That's why we need to know our customer retention in order to make sure we're doing things right. Well, so people want to come again. And that's why we also want to get our double time. Because one thing is just to be a one thing wonder, one night wonder, in so that our customer retention will be low. But what about if people just come into our place and it stays for an hour, stays for 45 minutes? We don't want that. We need to make sure people stay all night long. That's why we're measuring that as well. Also, our social media presence. We want to make sure people are getting to know us, but we want to know how many reservations are we getting through social media? How many people are getting to make a reservation because of our Instagram? How many people want to come because they saw us on TikTok? And last, our VIP services. Why? Because the more you are comfortable, the more you're liking a place, the more likely you are to buy something expensive, the more likely you are to buy our VIP packages. So we want to make sure these are always at a certain level, because if they're too low, that means we're doing something wrong. And that would be all. Thank you for your time, for joining me in this very long session of just me explaining to you my brand, and I'll see you in the ring. See ya.